This film study video is going to focus on how Jahmyr Gibbs first and then Aidan Hutchinson finished off the New York Giants in Week 12, helping Detroit prevail 34-27 in overtime. Also, I'll show the 69-yard touchdown run in overtime by Jahmyr Gibbs, the sack from Aidan Hutchinson, his 6th quarterback hit of the day. I think it gives him a total of 8.5 for the 2025 season at this point. And then we'll backtrack a little bit and show a really nice play in the end zone by an unheralded or underrated quarterback for the Lions right now in Rock Ya-Sin. First, we'll focus on Gibbs' 69-yard touchdown run that pushed him over 200 yards for the day. Also gave Detroit their first lead at 34-27. So it's the first snap of overtime. It's an 11 personnel group, and to be honest with you, the Giants could not play this worse in my opinion. I suspect what they're trying to get done is take Brian Burns and have him stunt or pinch to the inside and force Jahmyr Gibbs to possibly bounce this to the outside. It really just doesn't fit, though, that strategy with what the inside linebackers do. They pretty much end up kind of parting the Red Sea. So what I'm talking about is this inside linebacker stepped to the right and ended up on the bottom side block, at least from our perspective. And then Sewell turned this inside linebacker to the top side. So when I say part of the Red Sea, that's what I mean. Normally, you want your inside linebackers to respond or react as a tandem. In this case, you do not get that reaction, number one. Number two, it's a great job by multiple guys up front getting these blocks done. First of all, St. Brown going in short motion is going to dig out this nickel defender here and close him off, prevent him from getting involved in the play at all, number one. Number two, Radledge is just escorting the defensive tackle down into the center. I think someone in the Lions Discord said, hey, let me introduce you to my friend Graham Glasgow, because that's really what Tate Radledge did. And then finally, obviously, Penei Sewell taking the frontside inside linebacker, I think it's 58, turning him to the top side, basically clearing a huge lane for Gibbs to get downhill. It was really over at this point. I mean, 24 gave it his best effort, don't get me wrong, but I think Gibbs was considering like staying in fourth gear and then realized, okay, let me just turn it on and eliminate you completely. No chance at all. Beautiful moment for the Lions. This game's so reminiscent for me of the the win over the Bears that preceded Thanksgiving Day in 2023. The loss to the Packers on Thanksgiving Day is what I'm referring to, but the win where Aidan Hutchinson clinches it with the strip sack in the final minute or final 30 seconds of the game, boots the ball up in the stands. The margin ended up being 31-26 there, so mathematically, from a score standpoint, it's very similar as well. Same play from the end zone angle. Again, this is Gibbs' touchdown run. 11 personnel. So watch the way 58 and 54 react, first of all, to the short motion from St. Brown. So they both slide to the right, number one. Number two, they're getting their primary key, I guess, off the offensive line, which is why those guys move in this direction. What bothers me here schematically for the Giants is by stunting or pinching Burns inside. I guess they're trying to play it to the nickel DB. I don't get it. I don't get it to me at all why those guys are stepping opposite of where it appears to me they're trying to spill or make the ball bounce. It didn't matter. Look, Gibbs, just a quick little jump cut over the top. I mean, it must be said, the tight end, Brock Wright, did a nice job on Burns as well. Here is Radledge riding the D-tackle out of there. Sewell, and then I think this is Glasgow working his way up to the backside inside linebacker. It's over at this point. Detroit showed here, even though the day was sloppy, right? Don't get me wrong. They showed some mettle and toughness here in the final moment. I guess the first guy that realized it was Penei Sewell, or maybe you did. I think right around here when I saw the safety one-on-one, I thought, okay, we definitely got an opportunity to end this thing. And for a moment, in my naivete, I thought, okay, this game is over. And then I realized the overtime rules are different, than they were for decades. But in any case, a cool moment, especially for Gibbs. To me, that should put him at minimum in MVP conversation. I'll have more on that later. But at this point, leading the NFL 6.13 yards per carry, 951 rushing yards, over 100 yards rushing in 3 out of his last 5 games. And one of the games where he didn't get to 100 yards rushing, he got 100 yards receiving. I'm talking about the Week 11 loss in Philly to the Eagles. And oh, by the way, for him to be third in the NFL in rushing yards behind two guys who each have 50-plus more carries than he does to this point. We've skipped a lot of plays to get here where we are now. It's a 4th and 5 for the Giants. This is, of course, Hutchinson's game-ending sack. And I'll have a little bit of comment about the immature reaction of the right tackle for the Giants a little bit at the end of the video, but I will address it a little bit here. I think, first of all, it's a too high safety look for Detroit, and in my opinion, it's essentially their two-man coverage. Sometimes there's variations where they drop a guy down predetermined, but they cover the routes up really well here, if you ask me. In addition, Aidan McNeil lays possibly his best pass rush move on the right guard, and that's a part of the rush that Aidan Hutchinson is taking. Really short-sighted sometimes by all of us, I guess myself included, to talk about guys losing certain pass rush routes. To me, this is predetermined, meaning McNeil on a bull rush and Aidan Hutchinson on a topside move. So Hutchinson's pathway is predetermined, number one. Number two, in terms of the comments that the right tackle made, hey, I just rode him out of there. That's not true, dude. Look at where Winston's feet is essentially represented by this blue line, okay? Almost the 37, just past the 37, okay? So the 37 and a tick mark. And then we've got Hutchinson's foot not even to the 39. So it's just not accurate to say that you rode him out of there and his pass rush move on this case was so weak that it was easy for you to fend him upfield. The reality is the right tackle never plays football for longer than 3 to maybe 3.5 seconds, and Aidan Hutchinson generally is a guy that's going to give everything he's got from the snap of the ball to the whistle. In my opinion, he just out-hustled him. If 72 doesn't allow Hutchinson to get the corner, in fact, I think there's some argument that he's holding with his right arm right now. I'll give you the end zone angle. If he doesn't allow Hutchinson to get the corner, and he actually does ride him vertically past the pocket, guess what? Against this two-man coverage, Jameis Winston may actually have the opportunity to go scramble and possibly get close to the first down or maybe throw the football. My point is 72 running his mouth means nothing because Aidan Hutchinson actually did make the play. We'll give you the end zone angle of this one. Like I said, it's a 4th and 5, about a little over 4:35, I think, when the ball's actually snapped. There's Hutchinson. McNeil is kind of hidden by the right tackle, but it's a bull rush that goes basically right through the right guard's face, if you will. And I think, again, that this is predetermined. Muhammad is lined up as a defensive tackle on the other side. He's getting kind of swallowed up by the center's move. So that, from that standpoint, that doesn't really support me saying that this is predetermined because Muhammad is really stunting all the way across here. I'm not saying he's going over to the B gap, but to me, he looks like he's a little bit more of a wild card here, in my opinion. I'll rewind this and let it play back a couple of times. You can focus on whatever you wish, but what I'm talking about is Hutchinson trying to get by to the top side. 72 puts a stop sign up with his outside arm, fine. But at some point, there has to be a discussion of what is a hold and what is not. I think he let go at just the right time, to avoid that. He had to. Why? Because he was beat. He wasn't beat cleanly for a direct path to the quarterback. Hutchinson was able to continue playing football. That's the idea, guys. The average football play, 7 to 7.5 seconds, somewhere in that range, and you want to be effective for the entirety of the time when the ball is snapped. Aidan Hutchinson is, 72 is not. Bottom line. At this point for the year, I believe Hutchinson has 8.5 sacks and 24 quarterback hits. So if you extrapolate that out, he's on pace for 12 to 13 sacks, roughly. 30 to 32 quarterback hits, somewhere in that range. Really right in line with his 2023 numbers before the injury last year. The other play that I want to talk about that I think deserves a lot of mention is not just how Rock Ya-Sin played this 4th and goal with about 3 minutes left. I think it snapped with about 3:05 left, somewhere in that range. I don't believe that New York or the Lions called a timeout, but I could be wrong. But it's so many guys on this defense passing routes off to each other. So I'll try to connect these first. Rock is going to pass his route off to the free safety, number one. Number two, DJ Reed is guarding Wendell Robinson. Robinson's route's going to work all the way across. Now, Reed does chase him in man, but Barnes takes it over. So I think you've got very clearly and easy to understand two examples of guys passing their routes off to each other. Number 3, Theo Johnson, the guy that works his route all the way across the field. Branch will work with him and then just stop. In my opinion, Branch knows or got some kind of call from someone, maybe the free safety, maybe Rock, that he could let that route go. I'm talking about the actual targeted receiver here. I think you've just got nasty work by the Lions defense in a critical moment in the game. Yes, they had trouble defending Jameis Winston, which feels like an extremely weird phrase to even utter, but this is badass work across the board. So there's the route that Rock is defending first. He's passing that off to Harper, the free safety. I believe that Branch is responsible for this route man-to-man. Theo Johnson moving across the field from right to left, but Rock's going to take it over. And at a certain point, Branch actually stops his feet. And I'm not sure why. The only thing I can think is that he saw and recognized or heard a verbal call from Rock that I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Something in that range. The ball's already out. My point is you've got a lot of examples here of these guys playing help defense and using their leverage in man coverage that actually ends up kind of being a match concept post-snap. Great play all the way around, in my opinion. Barnes does briefly take over Wan'Dale Robinson enough such that Reed can sneak all the way across and put himself kind of in position to possibly play this route if that's where Jameis Winston went with the football. You're more than welcome to have a different evaluation of this play than I do. I think these guys played this extremely well for being a high-pressure situation where, obviously the Giants made a mistake in going for this because they failed, first of all. But second of all, they had an opportunity to get ahead by more than a field goal with very little time remaining, and Detroit was able to go down and tie it on a 59-yard field goal by Jake Bates that somehow curled into the bottom right corner of the uprights. But here's the play from the end zone angle, and hopefully my description does it some justice. I'll try to let it run through multiple times. So first, Barnes isn't actually taking over this route. The route that emanates that he helps defend emanates off screen from our right. It's the one that DJ Reed is defending against Wan'Dale Robinson. You can see Robinson sneaking across underneath, and look at Barnes. He snaps his eyes to it and takes over that route briefly such that DJ Reed can catch up to it, number one. Number two, Rock is passing this route off. I think that's Hodgins, but I could be wrong. He's passing off Hodgins to Harper. It looks like Harper is possibly communicating that to him. And then Branch stops his feet for a moment, leaves that route for Rock to take over. If the video is too, staccato for you guys or too start-stop heavy, my apologies for that. It should be obvious why I kind of have to do that. At this point, just trying to show respect to what I believe these players displayed in this high-stakes moment of the game. If the Giants get a touchdown there, obviously, yes, the game is over. I still don't support their decision. In my opinion, you take the points on a day when Detroit, yes, was getting huge plays from Jahmyr Gibbs. This, to me, I mistakenly in the reaction video said, hey, if Rock's not there, that's a touchdown. My suspicion is that Branch saw Rock in position and held up or stopped his feet to defend some other type of route. So I don't know how deep you want to go into discussing, into allocating help defenders passing routes off to each other, but we certainly got Rock and Harper working together, Reed and Barnes, and then my suspicion is that Branch let that route go to allow Rock to take it over because Rock was in position to do so. Let me address, first of all, Gibbs here. I think he's a bona fide MVP candidate. Let's do it this way. Of the players that I get to see play football consistently in a week-by-week basis, Ravens, Lions, Seahawks. I'll give you the 4 best players for me so far that I get to see every week. And the cool thing is they're all 4 at different positions. JSN at receiver, spectacular. He's been the best receiver in the league so far in 2025, statistically leading the NFL, I think, in 5, maybe 6 different categories. Jahmyr Gibbs, right there with him in terms of offensive efficiency. Those 2 guys, for me, both should be in the MVP discussion. Leonard Williams, defensive tackle, defensive end hybrid for the Seahawks. Spectacular play so far this year, extremely disruptive. I think he had a sack or a sack and a half this past week in their win down in Tennessee. Finally, Kyle Hamilton, moving up to the nickel defender position for Baltimore, has really drastically changed their defense. Those 4, for me, have been the most impactful productive and consistent players of the three teams that I get to watch most consistently. Even to be honest with you, more so than their quarterbacks at times. Goff and Sam Darnold have both been very sharp at times, struggled with turnovers and pressure on them at others. Gibbs is leading the NFL, 6.13 yards per carry. That's a career high. 951 yards, third in the NFL, 13 touchdowns, 10 on the ground, 3 through the air. Him and JSN, amazing offensive efficiency so far and explosive plays. As far as Hutchinson goes, he had 6 quarterback hits yesterday. Did he dominate the right tackle? No, he didn't. He still had 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, the 1 sack. If you extrapolate those numbers out over a 17-game season, that's a pretty damn good year. That's 17 sacks. At this point, he's got 8.5, on track for 12, 13 or so. I don't really care about pressures. I do not. Some of the people that put information out there about quarterback pressures tend to be fans of the player and or team that they're supporting and talking about. So, yes, I'm talking about Aidan Hutchinson at times. People talking about, oh, he had 13 pressures in this game. I don't know anything about that, but we can see quarterback hits a lot more definitively than we can pressures because one man's pressure is another man's pass rush loss. I thought the right tackle did a good job at times. I think he kind of ruined it by this stupid quote, apparently in the locker room after the game, when pressed about the sack. He said, how do I say this respectfully? He, meaning Hutchinson, didn't do a damn thing all blank game. He strikes me as the type of guy that would try to celebrate that one play. But for most of the day, I was on an island with him, and he didn't do anything. It's the last play of the game, dummy. It clinched a win for his team over your team. What do you expect him to do, not celebrate? Unreal, the lack of maturity sometimes by some of these guys when a microphone is put in their face. I thought he played well. You know, I kind of wish I didn't run upon that quote. Maybe I wouldn't have produced that portion of this video, but Hutchinson's play at the end there, I think, is worthy of some mention, as well as the bull rush by Aleem McNeil that plays a factor there. Finally, Rock makes a spectacular play there, in my opinion, falling off from what kind of looks like a mesh route, although Wandale Robinson's kind of makes it look like a mesh climb concept, almost a little bit like tight end leak, but I don't know if it was a season-saving play, but it's spectacular, man. It's possibly a touchdown if Rock goes man. If he stays man with the backside X, then that route is, potentially there, and Harper would be in position. My assumption is if Rock stays man, then Harper doesn't fall off to help, and so Harper could possibly be there to help out Branch running across the field. That's fine. I just think it was a play that was worthy of mention and some coverage by myself. They wouldn't have won this game without Gibbs' heroics, right? Not trying to lump Rock and Hutchinson's one play production here, along with Gibbs putting up 219 yards and 3 total touchdowns. Having said that, I think it's just worth mentioning, and that's why I tried to cover it. If you didn't check out the Rock Ya-Sin video last week that I put out covering him against A.J. Brown, do it now. I get it. You were probably upset the loss against the Eagles when the offense looked so bad. We just got to win yesterday, so do yourself and me a favor. Go check out that video, and I think if you do so, you'll see him competing, and it kind of gives you an indication that plays like this one, on the 4th and goal from the 6 in the 4th quarter, they really shouldn't be a surprise at this point. The Detroit Lions, Kelvin Shepard, they're getting the best version of Rock Ya-Sin, and it's at just the right time because DJ Reed is back. Hopefully Terrion Arnold is returning. I think he practiced this afternoon. Could have your best group of DBs out there moving forward on Thanksgiving Day against the Packers. If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments section. Number 1, please excuse the gaudy thumbnail. I was trying to figure out a way to get both of those guys on the screen at the same time. I recognize I couldn't get the saturation rate, perfect. But in any case, if you enjoyed the video, please let me know in the comments section. And finally, if you think other Lions fans would appreciate my thoughts as well as the plays that I tried to use to illustrate them, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.